is Anneli Akkerman, Member of Parliament for Estonia for the Reform Party, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome. We have Marek Alexo, Member of the Board of the Association of Hydrogen Technologies and CEO of SkyCorp. SkyCorp produces drones, if I'm not mistaken, that fly on hydrogen. And we have Marcus Wichmann, if he's in the room. He is. Welcome. Fantastic. Great to have you here.
Hi, Peter.
Have a seat. The sound here on the stage is rather difficult to follow if you're on the stage. I hope it doesn't upset you if I stand here a bit, so I can hear you better. First of all, Petrus mentioned the retrofit market, which is a huge market, he says. And I'm not very technical, so I didn't quite know what retrofitting was. I know it means putting new things in old technology. So I said, Petrus, what does it mean? Is it retrofitting the gas pipelines? No, he said, it's not that, because Estonian pipelines for gas are not suitable for hydrogen, unlike the ones in the Netherlands. Petrus was actually referring to trucks and ships that could run on hydrogen. Having said that, it appears that we may require two different types of companies, one for retrofitting pipelines, because if there's no need for it to retrofit in Estonia, there might be needs in other countries, such as ours. You need a contracting type of company. And the other mobility segment, or transportation segment, would be trucks and ships. What can we say in terms of the difference in type of company you could find in Estonia to make that happen?
Sorry, I don't get the question.
Okay. For retrofitting gas pipelines, you may need contractors with special expertise. For transforming ships and trucks into running on hydrogen, you may need different companies.
Yeah, small and medium enterprises that are used to working with all types of drivetrains. Companies that have been working on maintenance in ships and mobility. They might be able to really learn and upskill their technology into retrofitting. And I think what's good to realize is that labor is hugely expensive in the Netherlands compared to Estonia. And then it gets interesting if we can really get the people with the skills here. It's attractive for the Dutch companies to bring their trucks and ships here to retrofit them and then bring them back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If we look at other forms of mobility, aircraft, for example, I read newspapers and I read that flying with power, with electricity, is currently very difficult because of the energy density of batteries. They're too heavy for the type of energy that they carry. So you make them fly on hydrogen. How can we expect that to be transformed into aircraft, manned aircraft? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, that's actually how I started. I was, for the third year in a row, I was in Glasgow, 1st of September, at the International Hydrogen Aviation Conference. Right, so it's 3 years already going on, but because of COVID, first time we met in person, but I started this year as well because it was now getting very serious in talks. First year, people were still doubting, like, which way does it go? Do we have alternatives? This year, it wasn't a question, right? But I started my keynote there with saying, yeah, we've been flying on hydrogen for 4 years now. I don't see what the problem is at all. okay, but we cheated. We don't have the person on board yet, and now we need to scale this one up to have a person on board, right? And this is actually also starting in just a few years. I mean, there's companies like Zero Avia, that are startups, that start with taking, they did that already last year actually, on a 6-seater. This year they're running already high-speed ground testing on the Dornier 228, which is a retrofit. It's an existing plane that's converted to electric. Let's add the hydrogen fuel cell and balance of plants. Let's put gaseous hydrogen there initially, because it's possible on smaller aircrafts, and let's go and fly. And that's planned already for the end of this year. And I believe the first commercial line they already planned 2024 from Rotterdam to Heathrow. That's some planes, right? If you start on a new plane now, or even a larger plane, which you need already on liquid hydrogen, which Airbus is doing, this is 2035. But this is already 100 to 200 seaters that go much further. Now, new frames, they of course take 20 plus years to get to the markets. But initially where we can start getting the experience is with those small frames. Let's retrofit. Let's throw the diesel out, or let's throw the petrol out, or let's throw the jet fuel out. Let's put it electric. Let's add the range with hydrogen. That's the logic that goes around with everywhere. And Petros said that this is a huge market opportunity for retrofitting. Like there's 10,000 planes we can convert today already, while the new models and larger ones are coming in, and while we get this infrastructure in place, we can already do that. And that's indeed a really good potential for Estonia. I mean, we have the ingenuity. We can be a bit crazier than the ones in the center parts, with the big companies needing massive pools of people doing all kinds of things, from legal reviews to whatever, personnel training exercises. I was talking about that yesterday with some people as well, that they're getting charged when they don't have a lead on the coffee cup. So try doing innovation in these sort of things where you have so much bureaucracy also behind you. And in Estonia, we don't. We already have this digital nation thing. We already did that from scratch without any of this heritage stuff, right? Let's do that with hydrogen now as well. Let's start from scratch, clear the mindset. Let's just do it. Let's retrofit those things. Good. So, yeah, I think that's a perfect opportunity to do.
Now, let's continue on that small-scale operations. We heard from Marcus that there's a couple of very large-scale electrolyzers being developed, and we all know, I believe, that there's no such thing as off-the-shelf electrolyzers currently being on the market. So I presume that the smaller ones are coming first, right? And if I made no mistakes in making a quick calculation, I see that the 4 gigawatts target that we have in the Netherlands will be filled up currently by the 10 or so big electrolyzer projects for 50%, right? I think you referred to that as well, 2 gigawatts for the dozen of big ones that's going to be developed, which means that if I did my research properly, out of the 165 hydrogen projects, there's a remaining 155 ones that need to come up with capacity for the remaining 2 gigawatts, okay? So this brings us to a market size of an average electrolyzer capacity of mid-size 20 to 50 gigawatts. Sorry, megawatts.
Yeah.
It's already a big market, but how would you describe the potential of the Estonian industry as it sits here to address that opportunity?
I'm not that deeply involved in the industry to know if that challenge could be met by the Estonian industry. What I do know is that Stargate, for instance, produces electrolyzers and can do that in that mid-segment. Mm-hmm. It's good to know as well that these large-scale electrolyzers are made up of several smaller ones. So the 100 megawatt is in effect, I thought it was 10 stacks of 10 megawatt or 5 of 20 megawatt. So They are, in fact, just modular elements that you put together. But I think that with companies like Stargate that are really accelerating their business, they can have a chunk of that market. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, we've taken a look at the Baltic grid for offshore wind, and we've heard about a couple of companies in this world trying to produce windmills that have an electrolyzer at the base. Currently, I believe there's a Dutch project called Poseidon. They are mounted on top of a platform, an old oil rig or gas rig, and they get power and they make water in order to generate hydrogen. That's what they do.
Exactly.
And if I was informed correctly by Marek, they managed to produce that at sea, about 17% less expensive, and they don't need to lay a cable to the shore. So would that type of development be a possibility for Estonia to look into?
I think that very well may be, because the further you are at sea, the more expensive it becomes to bring all that energy by copper wire to the shore. So yes, conversion of the electricity towards hydrogen offshore is more interesting the longer the distance to shore is. I know that there are several initiatives in France and other countries that try and see, can we do that centralized, like the Poseidon? So that's indeed a large electrolyzer on a depleted oil rig that produces hydrogen in large volumes. Or could you do that by electrolyzers in the pillars of single windmills? Both projects are under development. Several players are trying to bring that to the market or researching it. And if it will succeed, yes, that will be a huge market, of course. So yeah, I would really applaud anyone who is working on that type of solutions, because we need them.
And from your perspective, Marcus?
Yeah, I agree. And just to give some figures, Estonian consumption of energy is somewhere about 8.5 terawatt hours annually. So we have currently 3 big offshore wind projects in Estonia that have managed to start the process of superficies, or obtaining these superficies on the sea. And each of them state that in the end they would like to produce 5 terawatt hours annually, which means that even if we cut out all the other ways of producing energy and there will be no other wind projects in Estonia, we still are double capacity. So and one of the problems that we have in Estonia is the grid is not there where it's needed for the offshore wind, or if the grid will be taken there by copper, then the capacity of the grid is or the free capacity is not enough. So I think there has to be something coming up with that. Maybe the first ones would get access to the grid, but the next one would definitely need to storage this. And the storage we need anyhow, because there is fluctuation in the offshore wind production. So I think this will happen sooner or later. We as a port, of course, would support this very much, because as you know, Estonian ports have a long history of working with fossil energies, mainly from Russia, which now are on a very low basis, but we could have the same terminals retrofitted to the hydrogen, and also the shipping companies could then have a new export things that they could transport.
Okay, now let's talk about the export capability of Estonia. Indeed, if we have a plant capacity in offshore wind of 7 gigawatts, and we are planning to have that Baltic grid in place, Anneli, could you tell us a bit about the ambitions of the Estonian government and what would it require to get there?
I have been working in Estonian Parliament with building up regulations and putting through laws or enforcing laws to give a possibility to develop to the solar energy and mostly wind energy also. That means that we have enforced amendments of law of building so that it clears it clears regulations how to build offshore wind parks, and there is a lot of interest from developers' side. European Commission had said this number, which have been said out today here a few times, 7 gigawatts is wind energy potential. But right now I know that developers have plans even 20 gigawatts to develop offshore. But for example, even in this Livonian Bay, I'm living in the middle of it on a tiny island, there are developers applied to develop Enefit Green 1 gigawatt, 6 gigawatt even utility. Now, let's say they will get one done between Kihnu and Saaremaa then. And also Elvin project, which is project between Estonia and Latvia, is trying to find place on Estonian side of a border, a half gigawatt. That means that it can produce electricity much more than Estonia itself can consume ever. But also I'm always telling that the lower fruits of wind energy for making electricity are actually in Ida-Virumaa, where our grids are historical reasons coming to west from east to west, and also such kind of areas, big areas, which have been mines before. And also in Pärnu County next year, and after that huge amounts of wind energy are produced mainland also. I think somehow that the Estonian electricity grid is redeveloped to produce electricity in roofs and in small wind parks also. But I think more than 90% of electricity which is produced offshore is possible to export. And that's why I've been writing articles for a while, for a couple of years already, that wind will be most important natural resource for Estonia and also natural subject for export. Yeah. But right now this parliament is going to end. Right now we are preparing our programs for the election right now. So I can assure you that the program of our party or my party, Reform Party, will have very important place in wind energy and renewable energy and also hydrogen technology in our program, and hopefully we will get to write it. We are able to write it in the next coalition agreement. But the next big challenge for me and or my followers is how to develop those grids to carry this energy, either molecules, either electrons, to the Nord Pool market. That means to Netherlands, to Germany, where has much more dense population and where those states have a much more such kind of industry which need enormous amounts of energy. But also in Estonia, as I understand that this message for industry, this new wind energy parks are giving the Estonian industry also absolutely new perspectives. In Tootsi tuulepark, also close to Saarde tuulepark in Pärnumaa, and also Enefit Green is very close to the shore in Häädemeeste, and they plan to make 5 terawatt-hours annually. That means that huge amounts of energy is available, and this is also pretty cheap if it's close. And this also give opportunity to develop other types of industries who could use it, and also potential. I cannot predict, and also engineers and businessmen can predict what can be done with this enormous amount of energy will be available maybe in a 2028 or 30 or something like that. But the next really complicated challenge is the grid for transporting either electricity, either hydrogen, and this is the main task in the future.
So what are your views on transportation, Margus? If you talk about pure hydrogen, or if you talk about molecules, if we talk about long distance transportation to other export markets like Western Europe, what is feasible at all? There's a lot of speculation in the media, I understand, but what's your impression of the best bets? Where would you put your money on?
In terms of transportation, you mean?
Yes.
I mean, there will be a need anyhow, you know, and if we you know, in Europe, close to us, in Germany, in Netherlands, in Poland, I mean, that's not a question. Or are you talking about that how we could retrofit the ships? Then there is it's much more difficult and a longer term.
Well, the question more would be, should we transport it as hydrogen as such, or should we change it into ammoniac or things like that? In terms of energy density and the payback period for such investments.
Yeah, but when we talk about the offshore wind, I guess it's easier to harvest the hydrogen, then you can create ammonia or whatever you need from that or electricity on the shore. When we talk about you know, shipping industry, for example, then they don't at the moment see so much potential in the hydrogen. Because the engines are not there, and also, like you said, the aviation, it's quite conservative. It's exactly the same with the shipping industry. It's very conservative, so it will take a long time to approve a new fuel. Ammonia, for example, they see as much positive, and they say that you could mix it with existing fuels and get the CO2 emissions then down 30-40% even. And the rest 10% they could you know, reach with more economic ships, and this would mean that they will have about 50% lower CO2 emission than they have now. So I would still, yeah, Petros, please.
Yeah, I think that there is one very interesting and specific value proposition from the Estonian point of view. And that is, you have an abundance of energy generation potential, but you also have an abundance of green carbon molecules. You have a huge amount of forest, and if you know how to do forestry in a sustainable way, in the sense that you will keep your forest, then still you can harvest a lot of the forest and use that for the production of sustainable fuels. And then methanol is very interesting, because there are huge, like Maersk shipping companies that have put their money on methanol as the new fuel. But also, if you have the green carbon and the hydrogen, you can produce kerosene. And that's a very interesting market, because there are mandates from the European Commission stating that we have to use certain percentages of sustainable kerosene in our mix, regardless of the cost. So if you don't have the e-kerosene, you will get the fine from the European Commission. This is a huge market as well, and maybe very interesting for Estonia.
It is. For the Estonians in this conference room, in Dutch media there's been talk about Estonian forests not having been maintained in a sustainable way, which proved wrong information, like false information. This information has been corrected, and people should now be aware that Estonia does have sustainable forestry. Now, in terms of running a forest and having a forest make money, is the Estonian government looking at this option that Peter's just described?
Yeah,
CO2 production.
yeah, there has been a lot of discussions about the forestry in Estonia also. And actually, the people, I think, I really trust our Estonian University of Agriculture and Forestry, because there are a lot of professors who have devoted their lives to figure out our forestry sciences, how to grow forest in a best way. But nowadays somehow kind of I don't know how it happens that all poets, that all singers and people from every other area, one suddenly know how to organize forestry. So this is so very. I'm so astonished about from where comes such confidence. If you're a poet or a singer, you can tell exactly how forestry should develop. But to be serious, I think according to European Green Deal, also very important is to put down carbon to wooden furniture, wooden houses also. But you can, if you have a tree on a forest, you can use for building 1/3 of a tree. The other parts, 2/3 of a tree, are not possible to make building materials. There are always certain amount of a tree, a certain proportion of a tree, which can be used for other purposes. And but still, pressure to Estonian forests is still enormous. There are a lot of problems or a lot of reasons. One of them is also that the Estonian industry of forestry has been made so that they can get easily forest from Belarus and Russia, but now those change are interrupted, so they want to get this wood from Estonian forests, but they are too big to get all the materials they need from Estonian forests, and this is very complicated. During actually 4 years in Estonian Parliament, we have not been able to agree how we organize forestry, how much we cut. So this is very complicated and very sensible sensible topic for society. But I think somewhere there is always point everyone can accept, but this point is so far not found. But this is for sure, we have such kind of material in our forest which can be used also for fuels. But all those, as we have a lot of winds, and winds have been blowing since the world has been made and will blow after us. So this is the knowledge of our engineering, what kind of solution engineers can figure out. I have got background of finance, so if we have energy and we have a market in Denmark, Netherlands for energy, also in Singapore, we have applications. We want to buy 500 megawatt hours energy. demand for energy is enormous. So right now it depends on engineering, how we can organize. As we have a market on financial sense, this is not very complicated to build up financial structure to build it and to export it and to take money back. So this is not complicated, but this engineering side of producing and transporting energy is on the minds of this auditorium. And it's so complicated for me that I can rely on them, on this audience in this sense.
Let's talk a bit about the engineering capacity, particularly the shortage of labor. We are in Estonia doing smart things like retraining certain professionals. We have development of expertise in universities, etc. What can we do more? What can we do better? Can we, I don't know, utilize imported skill sets from Ukraine or other countries? Work in Estonia. We are looking at the problem of lack of hands. Any ideas about that, Marek? We need to solve a chicken and egg problem. We need to get the infrastructure in place fast, so the economy can thrive. But how do we get there?
Yeah, we've been solving the chicken and egg for, I don't know, 10 years already, I think. But maybe I'll continue from where actually Anne left off. I think we also need to reskill ourselves a bit to actually making more money of our nature and our products. Because the same wood residue that we made to pellets and then exported to Netherlands as well, and they don't want it anymore. And that was really cheap, especially in the past. And now when we have our canned wind hydrogen, we combine that and we make a product that's 1,500, 3,000 more euro per ton in terms of sustainable aviation fuel, which Europe makes everybody use, right? So that's a confirmed market, massive demand for it. Now we actually have to learn how to upscale what we previously threw out there really cheap. We have tons of it. We can make it really expensive now, so we can make or start making more expensive products, but for that we do need to reskill a lot. Fortunately, we've started to make progress there, starting with from the Hydrogen Europe side, we brought green skills for H2 to Estonia already last year. Tartu Vocational Education School or college now, Taltech Maritime Academy, Tartu Regional Energy Agency were all three that we managed to push into that, and that's creating the new curricula, the new skills that we need, because we already heard from France, for example, they don't have hydrogen truck drivers. It's the diesel guy doesn't work on hydrogen truck, it's a different thing. You need to train everybody in the workforce. This is a massive undertaking, of course. We got into it already. Now this year, because of this and because of cooperation with the Netherlands, we got a new project already offered as well for skills under the Erasmus program, which was Centers of Excellence for Hydrogen. There we managed to also include Taltech Energy and the Estonian Aviation Academy, in addition to the Tartu College. Right? So these skills need to start much earlier. There's absolutely a wide and massive range for it. It's a huge opportunity for our Just Transition fund and movement as well in Ida-Viru, because they have the chemical cluster there from the old times already. This is over. Don't try to save it with subsidies, but retrain those people to make a lot more money on a lot cleaner jobs, actually, than they had before. And this is a massive opportunity. Same for the Recovery Resilience Fund. Push these now to more strategies, and something we learned yesterday at the Parliament, 3 days of hydrogen. Tomorrow is a Tartu University, actually, hydrogen day as well. You can still listen virtually there. But something we learned is the same sort of, it's actually ex-minister Andres Sutt noticed this, that, we had this with the digital revolution back in the 90s, where we pushed ourselves and everybody suddenly trained how to use a computer, grandmothers. And we pushed the workforce for digital skills, and now actually this green movement is the exact same. path. We also start zero here, essentially. And we have to get, at a very fast pace, rebuild everything to this green. So reskilling, upskilling, same retrofitting, but also new skills and new education. Don't have to be a scientist from the university to do an electrolyzer. You need a lot of other jobs there as well. Also, the paper guys and the computer guys can still keep their jobs because you need distributed grids need smart grids, right? Distributed energy, you need to predict what the sun is doing, what the wind is doing, what the electricity grid is doing, what your own consumption should be doing. So even the heat pumps at home currently, these are stupid heat pumps. They give out the same temperature whether you're at home or not, whatever the electricity price is doing, whatever your own production is doing. And we need to make those things also smart. So there's a massive array of jobs and opportunities here, and also export, but also import of skills. And with this millionth crisis going on now, I think this is a point where we make the decisions that affect the next people that live after us dramatically.
Absolutely. We've got a great potential. Question is how do we get there? I think we've got a good architect in place and some great brains around here. Any questions from the audience at this stage to the panel?
So, Petros, you mentioned this retrofitting transport devices, all kind of trucks and so on. So, what direction it is really working? Is it just rebuilding them to electric engines and fuel cell technology, or is it also something using this traditional combustion technology?
Yes, in mobility, I know there are 3 approaches for retrofitting trucks, and one of them is in direct combustion of hydrogen. So, and if you do that efficiently, then you can really work with people that are trained in working with combustion engines for the direct combustion of hydrogen. So yes, that is a part of the market we see, and it's also a very quick fix, because we have the workforce to do that. It's relatively easy, and that can really kickstart the hydrogen mobility market. So yes, fuel cells, but also direct combustion. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions? If not, I would like to thank the panel for some very valuable reflections.